You wake up in a world filled with zombies. That sucks. You remember you have diabetes. That really sucks. You realize you're out of insulin. Insulin is the lifeblood of every diabetic. Without it, we have a pretty sucky time. So that brings me to this video's question. In a ruined, zombie-infested society, how do we get insulin? Well, how do we? I'm working on a graphic novel about a diabetic stuck in the zombie apocalypse. For just $2, you can read all of the pages I have done so far over on my Patreon. Patreon.com/GrahamStoltz. By supporting me, you can help me do really cool diabetic stuff. Please help me. Okay, let's dig into the current history of insulin and see what we can find. Insulin was first discovered in 1921 at the University of Toronto by Frederick Banting and Charles Best. According to Wikipedia, they isolated it from dog pancreases. Wow. Later, a cool diabetic brother named Leonard Thompson received the first treatment of insulin, which didn't go super well for him because he had a super severe allergic reaction immediately after taking his first dose. James Collip then purified the shit out of it, and then diabetics got their sweet, sweet life nectar. Insulin. God bless. In 1923, Lilly became the first company to commercialize insulin. Later, Arthur Riggs and Keiichi Itakura got sick of stealing insulin from animals, and they decided to create their first synthetic insulin using E. coli in 1978. E. coli. Yum. Research is still being done on how to extract insulin more efficiently or in new ways, but for now we have enough to just dig into this. Let's see what we can do. In a zombie apocalypse, what can a diabetic do equipped with this information? Well, the first thing to take note of is the commercial manufacturing of insulin. Small disclaimer, I know literally nothing about science. I'll be way in over my head this whole video. Awesome. According to an article written by Colleen Fuller on healthydebate.ca, Canada no longer produces a single drop of insulin, neither for ourselves nor for anyone else. Today we are completely dependent on 3 companies: Eli Lilly, Novo Nordisk, and Sanofi. That's fun. Cool. Okay, Canadian diabetics, this is not an option for us. Americans, though, you might have some options. You have Novo Nordisk in North Carolina, and Lilly has Indianapolis. There may be more, but honestly, the manufacturing location details are so effing hard to find, I gave up looking for them. Next problem. What does a diabetic do once they have access to these manufacturing plants? I literally don't know. Vice has a really excellent video showcasing the inside of a Lilly insulin manufacturing plant. Check it out. According to Topper.com, Lilly prepares 2 DNA sequences corresponding to A and B chains of human insulin and introduces them in plasmids, aka DNA modules, in cells of E. coli, aka intestinal bacteria, to produce insulin chains. These 2 chains are combined by creating disulfide bonds to form human insulin. Disulfide bonds are complicated chemistry terms that I literally don't know how to understand or explain, so success. Here's a really cool chart showing off everything I just explained, so give that a look. I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what's going on. So, is this something that I or you could hypothetically achieve? Well, all the people involved in the discovery of insulin thought that we could do this. They wanted to not patent the discovery, concerned about medical ethics, and provided their research to the public so anyone could freely extract their own insulin. That medical ethic has not necessarily continued as we have continued to make insulin discoveries and improvements. Oops. That brings me to Open Insulin, a group of a dozen volunteers hell-bent on reverse engineering synthetic insulin, and then sharing their solution with the world. They sound like evil geniuses, but on the good side, not evil, like good, evil. You get what I mean. During their interview with Just Might Work, a show that's on freethink.com, they explained that they have been working for 6 years already and are only now nearing a breakthrough. They haven't successfully made insulin yet. This is a team of highly skilled professionals. Their portfolio includes words like microbe engineering, lab automation, hardware development, and yeast. All of this being done out of a community biology lab. If it's taken a super successful team like this 6 years to achieve what they've done, how long would it take me? I work on comics, by the way. Patreon. With these observations, I can say that I have no idea how to run an insulin manufacturing plant. So I need someone with the knowledge of how these things work to produce more insulin. Since I can't imagine trying to unravel the secrets of E. coli insulin manufacturing while under attack by zombies, I think it may be an unlikely option for me and many others during a zombie apocalypse, especially being in Canada. Synthetic insulin manufacturing ain't it, chief. We may have checked off synthetic insulin manufacturing from our board of ideas, but there is another type of insulin extraction, animal extraction. Well, how the hell do we do that? I hope this is reasonably simple because I have no idea how to explain anything I'm talking about. Science. Yay. I'm going to paraphrase from a publication called The Insulin Content of the Pancreas in Cattle of Various Ages by A.M. Fisher and D.A. Scott from the University of Toronto in 1934. That's old. 1 hour and 45 minutes after the death of the cattle, the pancreas is collected and minced and thoroughly mixed. Extraction liquid is added, which is made up of absolute ethyl alcohol, distilled water, and concentrated hydrochloric acid. The insulin is extracted by shaking the acid alcohol and pancreas for 2 hours at 37 degrees. The residues are filtered out through a double layer of cheesecloth and then extracted again with acidic ethyl alcohol for 1 hour. Both extractions are combined, adding concentrated ammonium hydroxide to each until a reaction was distinctly alkaline to litmus. The precipitates are separated off and the supernatant liquids are added to tubes. The insulin in these tubes are precipitated by adding absolute ethyl alcohol and ether. They are then placed in a refrigerator for 12 hours. And while we wait that 12 hours, I will definitely state that this is not reasonably simple. Also, I'm surprised. I really shouldn't be, but I am. I always assumed that they kept the animals alive when they stole their insulin. I never assumed that the cattle was already dead when they extracted insulin. I just assumed they had a surplus of insulin that they just stole and, happily took from the animals. But nope, they harvest their organs like Frankenstein and mush them up and mash them and then blend them into these cocktails that I shoot into my body to keep it alive. I am a freak of nature. I have read some Reddit comments relating to this topic, and they really put this form of insulin extraction during zombie survival into perspective for me. So I'm going to read them. Witsiwa says, before the 1980s, it was purified from pig or cow pancreases. It was done in the 1920s, but if not done properly, it can lead to painful allergic reactions. You would need a steady supply of pancreases. In response to that, Mobius, son of Trobius, says, the sentence "you would need a steady supply of pancreases" can't lead to anything good. So for this method of insulin extraction to work in our determined setting, we need cattle, like lots of cattle. In a zombie apocalypse, yeah. Reasonable ask. For sure. Totally, dude, you got it. Zombies love meat. And cattle produces some of the best meat. Steak. I'm talking about steak. How are you not gonna have a juicy steak? Like, come on, man. What? Like, why? Let's get off the steak and back to making insulin. You'll need all the listed chemicals and chemistry tools. You also have to be super smart, by the way. You have to be prepared to operate on the cattle 1 hour and 45 minutes after its death, and do it all super precise, ripping out its pancreas, Mortal Kombat style, and then going through the entire chemistry procedure. I work on comics, by the way. Also, if you want to be efficient about it, you gotta prepare all that meat that's just gonna start rotting off that dead cattle. Otherwise, all you used it for was just a little tiny organ that, you know, can be used by diabetics. Whereas all this meat could feed probably a family or multiple families, because that's a cow, man. I mean, I suppose you could swap out all the cattle for dogs like they did when they originally extracted insulin. But I mean, like, who wants to do that to a dog? Like, what's wrong with you? Well, it depends. How much insulin do we need and how badly? I could kill a dog if I really needed to, okay? Don't dislike this video, please. It was a joke, okay? It was a joke. Or was it? Talking about this hypothetically is already stressing me out. I can't even imagine doing it in a zombie apocalypse. There really isn't a clean and reliable way to create insulin in a zombie apocalypse without skills or talents or tools and a lot of setup, okay? There's a bunch of setup and a bunch of execution that has to happen. And I work on comics. The fact that we have insulin today is just a miracle. Through complicated science and research, we have been gifted a perfected, clear liquid that solves all our sugary diabetic problems. Rediscovering and executing on science that took years in ideal conditions in a not so ideal zombified hellscape just seems practically impossible. I personally think that animal extracted insulin is probably the most likely because we have so much documentation about it. But I also don't live anywhere near a manufacturing plant or farm. I also happen to know nothing. How would you get insulin in a zombie infested society? Let me know in the comments down below, because like I'm genuinely curious. What's your approach to making more, dude? Also check for information in the comments below. I literally am not a science guy in the slightest, as you can see. But there may be people in the comments that are science people, and they may have better information about this. Special shout out to my patrons, and especially my patron Daniel. Thanks for supporting me, you little gems. I appreciate you. Okay, bye. F you, Danny.